Striking West Virginia teachers revive a proud labor heritage. In West Virginia, striking public school teachers and staff. Well, I guess actually this is a positive story too. And this is by Amy Goodman. I like Amy Goodman. Democracy Now! Has been a little disappointing as of recent to me. But still, I'm still a fan. I'm still a big fan. In West Virginia, striking public school teachers and staff celebrated victory this week, inspiring educators outside their state to take action for better pay and working conditions. Their 9-day wildcat strike put in stark relief another national debate on teachers. So West Virginia is Trump country. He won with 68% of the vote, beating Hillary Clinton by more than 40 percentage points. Yet the Mountain State has a long history of militant labor activism. The wildcat strike, illegal under West Virginia law, involved more than 20,000 teachers and 13,000 school staffers. After 9 days on strike, the teachers won. And keep in mind, it never should have gotten to this point. It never should have gotten to this point. Teachers were asking for what they deserved. And it should have never gotten to this point. But it did. And the West Virginia strike inspired teachers in Oklahoma. You guys know we talked about that. Teachers are in the lowest in all 50 states in Oklahoma. And they are potentially looking into a walkout. They have 45,000 members that signed off for it on Facebook. A strike is scheduled for April 2nd. Similar labor actions are brewing in Kentucky. Many students' walkouts will be happening as well this spring. And that, of course, is in response to all the not action that's been taken as a result of the shootings. So yeah, I think she's absolutely right. I think that West Virginia did serve as an example for other countries. Wow, still morning, guys. For other states, and it's a shame that it's gotten to this. It's a shame that they had to strike for 9 days. When basically they were asking for a reasonable pay raise and people were just saying no. Like, it's like basically, like I pointed out before, like our government was just saying education is not a priority to us and we don't care. Now, how do we package this? How do we package this? Because when you say it like that, education is not a priority and we don't care, that sounds really bad. That sounds really, really bad. This wouldn't happen in other countries, Stella says. No, I disagree. I think it would happen in other countries. You know what happens in France? When they don't like something, they strike and they get results. You know what happens in Italy? They strike and they get results. You know what happens in Germany? They strike and they get results. Their unions just want a 28-hour work week. That's what happened over in Germany. Yeah, they go to the streets and they strike. And that's what had to happen here. And it worked this time. The problem is a lot of times we strike and it still doesn't work, but this time it did work. And now people in other states are thinking, gee, we put up with a bunch of nonsense too. We're underpaid. We're overworked. Our kids don't feel safe. We don't feel safe. They're doing nothing about gun violence. I mean, that's why it's like, you know, we were talking about this over on the Jimmy Dore show yesterday. And they were saying how, you know, so many people in the United States are just sort of distracted. They have kids. They just want to take care of their kids. So they're just doing what they have to do to get by. And I think that's true. That's very true. But the other side of that is, how do you feel knowing that your kid's not safe going to school? Knowing that a shooting could happen at any second and nobody's doing anything about it. No one's doing anything about gun policy in this country. They're doing nothing. They're pretty much just telling the kids to screw off. And the kids are screaming and they're being told to just shut up. How does that not? I mean, if I had a child, I think that would push me over the edge. I think it would push me over the edge that I can't send my kid to school knowing that they're safe. That would push me over the edge completely. And I'd say, we got to do something about this. Our status quo is broken. We've gone too far. This is insane. I'm not going to be worried that my kid's going to get shot whenever they go off to school. And you know what? And I will say this, and I know some people disagree with me on this one. I am adamantly against homeschooling. I know there are some exceptions. I know that there are some situations where it is warranted. I'm not against people having that option. But that is something I could never do. If I was ever a parent, that's something I could never do. That's something I could never even consider doing. And I think that the exceptions where that is the way to go are very, very few and far between. I think you're robbing a child of a certain socialization that they really need. And I am not okay with homeschooling. Yeah, I'm not for it. I'm not for it. I think there are exceptions, so I don't judge. You know, if people want to do that, that's their choice. I can't ever envision a situation where I would do it. If I was ever a parent, I can't ever envision a situation where I would do it. I could manage with many social clubs and sports. You know, I understand that, but it's just not quite the same. It's not quite the same. And this is coming, and this isn't one of those like, they were the best years of my life. I didn't like grade school and I didn't like high school. I didn't like either one of them. But I don't think robbing a child of that type of socialization, and maybe robbing's a bit harsh because I'm sure a lot of people that homeschool their children, their heart's in the right place. I just disagree with that solution. And again, there are exceptions. I think it's a case-by-case thing. I said bigger picture, though, broader, you know, I can't ever envision a situation where I would do it. And if anyone ever asked me my opinion, should I homeschool my kid, I can guarantee you 98% of the time I would say no. Because I can't even think of the exceptions like off the top of my head. I know that they exist. I totally understand that. But I don't think I'd ever want to go that route, that way myself. Platypus, thank you so much for your super chat contribution. Thank you so much. Get Your News On with Ron has heavily impacted my sleeping pattern. It's 5 a.m., Ron. That's how you know you're making a quality show. Keep up the amazing work, bro beans. Give Lucy a cuddle from me. Aw, Platypus, thank you so much. And thank you so much for being up at 5 a.m. to participate in this show. I appreciate that very much. And thank you again for the super chat contribution. And I, of course, will give Lucy that snuggle for you. Derek says, listen, kid, it's a couple AR-15 rounds, and then we take off, and then we had to take off your leg. Now shut up and walk it off. Yeah, exactly. Gloomy Goblin over on Live Me, I've considered it, but I can't provide the social aspects that school can. I'm inclined to agree with you. Again, I know there are some exceptions. You don't need to send me, you know, I know some of you guys are, well, Ron, what about blah, 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 blah. I get it. There are some exceptions out there. I just, overall, it's not something I'm very, I look upon very favorably, homeschooling. There's always exceptions to the rule, but overall, it's not something I think everybody I know that's ever been through it, they don't look on it fondly. They have some socialization issues later. Yeah, I can't say I'd ever go that route. And there's statistics that, you know, contradict a lot of what I'm saying. I mean, statistically, people that have been homeschooled do pretty well in college, and it makes sense why that would be the case. If you're homeschooled, you're kind of used to independent study, maybe a little more so than somebody in a traditional high school. You are kind of used to being a self-starter. And in college, you need those skills. There's some people like, you know, high school kind of spoon feeds you a little bit more. Actually, a lot more. I should say a little bit more, a lot more. So when you get to college and you're just not used to that method of participating in the classroom, you don't do as well. That happens. Whereas people that kind of migrated more towards thinking critically, you know, they do better in college. And sometimes when you're a homeschooler, you know, that benefits you because you're used to kind of like, here's the textbook, you know, kind of dive into this on your own. So you're prepared more for collegiate level work. And Gloomy Goblin agrees that's one aspect where it helps. Yeah, I think so. But, you know, there's a lot of other factors at play here. So anyway, we'll have that debate someday over on the stream. We'll have the homeschool versus not homeschool debate because it is an interesting topic. It is a complicated topic There is no right or wrong answer. But you know, it's an interesting concept, and it's pretty disturbing because the homeschool programs here in Santa Cruz County mix classroom time in with the week and partner with the elementary schools for plays and stuff. Then why homeschool? Like why, if you're gonna spend time in the traditional classroom anyway, why homeschool at all? Like oh, I go for part of the time. Like I just don't get it. You know, like why homeschool then? If you're spending time in the traditional classroom anyway, why not just be there? The problem with homeschooling is that people have this notion that everyone who does it is some right winger that wants to make sure their kids aren't deprogrammed. I don't think that. I mean, maybe some people think that. I don't. I don't even really associate homeschooling with any political spectrum whatsoever. There's all kinds of different types of people that do it. I think that there is some, like, you know, like maybe like some fringe kind of religious groups that are, you know, probably going to be right wing, that they kind of lean towards it because they don't want their child contaminated by society. But you know, I think that all kinds of different people do it, and you know, and I understand the arguments for it. I just think overall, you're taking a certain type of socialization away from a child that I think they need. 99% of the time. Are there exceptions to the rule? Abso-freaking-lutely. But 99% of the time, I don't think that's the way I would go. Mr. Lorbo, as a soon-to-be teacher in Germany, schools suck, period. But I cannot get over how some Americans seem to despise education itself. Yeah, we over in the States, anti-intellectualism is kind of smiled upon. That's just something we smile upon here. When most students in the U.S. suffer from anxiety, Platypus asks, would most students in the USA suffer from anxiety? I would say, yeah. I think that there's a lot of anxiety going on in our schools right now, not just because of the school itself and the pressure, but because people are worried. People don't feel safe. You know, over in Westlake, here in Los Angeles, where I live, they had that school shooting that happened. Kids were not okay. They resumed classes, by the way, later in the day. They resumed classes after the shooting happened. And, you know, I have some colleagues of mine that work in that district, and they said, like, yeah, no, these kids are not okay. They don't feel safe. They don't have any confidence in the generation ahead of them to protect them. And that is, how disturbing is that? How disturbing is that? I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up in fear. And, you know, and I remember Columbine. I was in school when it happened. We had a little bit of confidence in our adults and in our system that was an exception to the rule, not the rule. That something like Columbine was something that hardly ever happened. And well, guess what? Now it's a constant thing. School shootings are just a regular occurrence. It's like rain or something. It's just something that regularly happens. That is beyond messed up. And nothing is being done about it. Nothing is being done about it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.